Now when it comes to J. Cole, well, if you are ready to see how no matter what side of hip-hop you are on, whether you're Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Cameron, Wale, or so many others, well, we can all see what is hiding behind the facade J. Cole has put up, and with what has just been exposed now, well, we really have definitive and 100% proof that Cole is one of the fakest people in all of the music world today, and I would go as far to say when you see all of this, that you'd probably agree with me and say that he is the fakest friend you could have in the music industry. Well, before we go any further, be sure to leave a like and subscribe because we are really gonna need it. And as the Cole stans are just as annoying as the Drake stans, I'm telling you, we really are going to need that. So just make sure to leave a like so everyone can hear this and see how with J. Cole, well, right now it looks like his friendship skills are just as bad as folding clothes, as what we have just found out and what really is about to do more bad the more people see it, well, is information about J. Cole that has confirmed and 100% validated a lot of the statements and speculation that people have been making really since the Kendrick, Drake, and Cole beef started back in 2024, which centers around J. Cole being a fake friend, and despite trying to play the nice guy card and always trying to appear as if he is this friendly person who's always just super nice to everybody and genuine, that's actually a lie. And really what J. Cole does behind the scenes, well, is tell one person one thing and then do the complete opposite, or just straight up snakes them or goes behind their back and does something that they would not approve of that is betraying their own trust. And right now, with none other than Wale, that's what we have found out, as in an interview that Wale did with Charlemagne and The Breakfast Club to push his new album, Everything Is a Lot, and to spread the word about it, which, quick side note, this is a really solid project and one of the better rap records that has dropped all year. Well, as this is Wale's first album in years, and as he said, this record did take him 4 whole years to complete. This is a big moment, and seeing him back outside like this is something that we haven't seen in quite a while. So, I mean, everybody's getting to asking him questions, which within that, as Wale used to be one of the guys who was kind of in that second-rate big three, which, you know, back in the 2010s and in the blog era, it was always Kendrick, Cole, and Drake who were seen as the top 3, but then under them, people kind of always talked and tried to slip in Wale, Big Sean, and Meek Mill especially into that debate. Well, it seems like a lot of the questions and things that Wale is talking about are centering around just kind of the fall off that has been seen from a lot of these artists. Well, a lot of the questions that Wale has been asked has been about the very place that these rappers hold, how other rappers from his era have stacked up and really evolved, and within that, Wale is sharing information that maybe a decade ago he never even thought about saying, which now within this and speaking to Charlemagne, Wale went on a rant about the music industry, and specifically within it, his problems with the way the industry works and just the nature of how everybody will try to use anything that you say against you. And to explain this, Wale talked about how the only 2 times he ever actually opened up to other rappers about his problems, well, were to 2 people who were very close peers and contemporaries of him in none other than Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. And now, well, when it came to Kendrick Lamar, Wale had nothing bad to say when he shared his experience talking to J. Cole, venting to him, telling him about his problems, and as he specifically detailed, well, speaking to him the night before a child of his was born. Well, Wale said this, which just showed the type of person that J. Cole is. And I'm just going to play a very quick clip, which is going to be sped up, so just listen up.
And I remember, like getting ready to have my child up. That was probably the only 2 times I really leaned on the industry, you know, so. But the crazy thing is, False Prophets came out the next day.
And so with what Wale is saying here, what he is explaining is that after having some very personal and important conversations with Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, well, after he spoke to Cole and they seemingly had a deep conversation about fatherhood, it seems like, Wale woke up the next day and J. Cole released his infamous 2016 track False Prophets, which just with this, and there is a lot of misconceptions and things that Cole stans are trying to say to kind of divert the narrative or act like Wale is completely lying here. Well, now, first off, as False Prophets is mainly known as a Kanye diss, and that's kind of been the legacy of the track in general. Well, of course, the first verse within that track has always been very clearly directed towards Kanye, no matter what has been said about it or not, and no matter if Cole has ever wanted to really stand on it or not. And well, with the second verse, which you can see here right now on the screen, while there is some rappers that people have tried to kind of fill in here, this has always been speculated to be about Wale. As even with just J. Cole saying that the rapper is a good friend of his, that does narrow down the pool, and while it could have been somebody like Boz, it does not seem likely that Cole would put his own artist on blast like this. And it always kind of did make a little more sense to be Wale, considering how he was always right outside of, well, that big three discussion with Kendrick, Drake, and Cole, and he was kind of always seen as the fourth or fifth or sixth man. And so with that, and while the Cole fans are really trying to deflect and say that J. Cole didn't record a verse about Wale and then film the video in 24 hours to put the song out, well, right after the conversation with him, I think people are missing the point, which is that J. Cole definitely wrote the verse in advance and he definitely had the video ready. But as Cole and Wale have been friends, we've seen them in public before, and we've seen that they've had a decent relationship, at least as far as industry things go, or at least did go in the past. We could imagine that Cole and Wale were speaking a little more before this, and Cole did know the sentiments and ideas that Wale, I guess, was venting to him about, for however long that may have been. And so just with Wale giving all of this information to Cole, telling him about how he feels, and well, just having industry and rap conversations with somebody who he looked at as a peer. Well, for Wale to be on the phone with Cole the night before, telling him about some personal stuff, and Cole knew he was going to drop this song, which did talk about him in the second verse, despite Cole denying it, which again is the guy's also denied that he talked about Kanye. This is just another full circle moment loop of J. Cole just never standing on anything and dissing somebody and throwing rocks with one hand and then trying to hide the other. Well, with all of that, I think we just see so many different problems with J. Cole, and even see how with somebody like Wale, who has always been deemed and seen as a good friend of his, how Cole has even done him wrong and how Cole has betrayed his trust within such a strange way. And so maybe in of itself, if we just saw Cole snake Wale like this and do something like speak on the phone and have a really personal conversation with him in one moment and then drop a song where he is pretty much at the very least, if you don't want to say dissing, putting his friend and the details of their personal conversations on blast within a record that was heard by literally everybody, well, maybe if this was a one-time thing, we could give it a little more of the benefit of the doubt, or we could try to just talk about it a little differently. But if you've been paying attention recently, and if you are ready to just face the truth, well, J. Cole stans, you're not gonna like this if you are here, but it's time to just admit to the fact that J. Cole is a fake friend, and in a lot of ways, he is a bit of a snake, because with this whole neutral gimmick and grift that he tries to pretty much ride with all of the time, and well, with him kinda always acting like he is the bigger person and like he never takes sides and he never takes stances and he never calls people out, yet really with all of his actions, he ends up doing the exact opposite? However you want to put it, J. Cole is a hypocrite who doesn't want to face the consequences of his own words and decisions at every single moment. And after 2024 and 2025, you can't sit here and deny that, because let's just break down the run of showing how fake and how awful Cole really is as just a person and respected MC in hip-hop. And what I mean by that is just in terms of standing on literally any single thing that you possibly could, which honestly, just to have this conversation, we gotta start in 2023 with FPS with Drake, because however you want to look at it there, whether we look at it from the Kendrick end or the Drake end, well, to start off with Kendrick Lamar, while Cole did recognize him, Drake, and Kendrick as the big three, as he called himself Muhammad Ali, and then he said the whole Spider-Man meme thing, and he did so many other things throughout the track to signify that if there is a big three, well, Kendrick is three, and then Drake and Cole are Tyson and Ali, or whatever else he said. Cole right there, and even with that whole step-in line, which seemed like a diss about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and maybe what Kendrick Lamar did there, Cole did step on Kendrick and diss him however he wanted to frame it. So then for Kendrick to drop like that, and then for him to respond to the full-on diss with 7-Minute Drill, where again, he said so many things geared towards Kendrick, that from T-Pab being boring to Mr. Morale being a flop, to him falling off like The Simpsons. No matter how you try to apologize for it, you can't take it back. Well, even right there, we once again see J. Cole displaying how he is such a hypocrite, because pretty much what J. Cole did throughout that entire time, from FPS and 7-minute drill and then to the apology, was just throw his hands at another man, and when he got checked and called out for it, then he decided to walk back his stance, which I just think for J. Cole, that's really the issue with him. Which again, it's not that he doesn't want to stand in things, because he clearly does, even if it's subliminally, but he doesn't ever want to get checked for it. Because let's just go back to that Wale conversation. With Wale saying that after he spoke to Cole about it, Cole said it wasn't about him. That again seems like another way of Cole trying to just talk in somebody's face and say one thing, while again everything is clearly implying another reality. That's the exact same thing that we can see here, because however Cole wants to frame it, as a competitive rapper who was trying to claim the top spot and who was clearly saying things that were dissing Kendrick, he did speak down on Kendrick. You just can't dispute that. And so for him to try and play the nice guy role again, it's just all so ridiculous. And now even if we go to Drake, for Cole to team up with Drake, up him the way they did, try to exclude Kendrick from their top 2 party, I guess you could say, and then not having anything to say about him on 7-minute drill even. Well, once again with Drake, after clearly implying that he was on his side and that he was gonna stick by the guy he made FPS with and who did give him his first #1 song, I guess, Cole then snaked him, because by stepping out of the beef and doing everything he did there, Cole pretty much put Kendrick in a place where he only had to focus on Drake, and that pretty much gave Drake all of the more reason to just fail and get embarrassed the way he did, because now it was a 1v1 instead of a 1v2, and Cole maybe could have made a slight difference just in terms of changing where Kendrick's focus needed to go for the rest of the beef. And then so from that and apologizing to Kendrick to here, it gets even more confusing with Port Antonio, which I hate this song, where let's not forget Cole made a song where he talked about the beef, subliminally alluded to Kendrick Lamar using bots and only winning everything because he was playing games and doing behind the scenes tricks instead of actually relying on his pen skill and merit, as we all saw. And then, well, at the same time as subliminally throwing shade at Kendrick, which once again is the way he got here in the first place on FPS, he then, after apologizing to Kendrick publicly but doing that, then apologizes to Drake on this song and made this whole love letter to him, where he said how he wants to be forgiven and whatever else you want to say there. Which, I mean, just with that absolute madness, you see the problem. You see why Cole is fake, and honestly, we could stop right here and everybody would get the point. Which again, is that when you try to be the nice guy to Wale, yet you diss him on a song, and then you try to be the nice guy to Kendrick, yet you diss him on a song, and then you try to be the nice guy to Drake, but then you let him get his career ended by the guy that you dissed on a song, but then apologized to in real life. We see the problem with Cole, which is that he wears a million different masks for a million different people, again, all to try and play this neutral and I'm friends with everybody grift, which in a space where there is so much competition and there is so much beef and you started a lot of it, you just can't do that. You understand why you can't do that, and you understand why on every single level possible, it's you who ends up being fake and it's you who ends up looking pathetic, which just on that very note, I think there's a clear thing that we can all see here, which is just that when it comes to J. Cole, the guy has a problem standing on his word. And just to kind of take this out of the big three and the blog era rappers and to look at Cole's relationship and dynamic with somebody who would be a legend to him in hip hop and even a mentor, you could say. Well, let's just remember that Cameron lawsuit that was filed a few weeks ago, where Cameron said that, well, after J. Cole asked him for a sample clearance of a song that was his and then for a feature on his Might Delete Later project, Cameron said, yeah, he'll do it if Cole just did in return an appearance on his podcast or a feature on a future record of his, which, as Cam has told us and as it was revealed, Cole has not done any of that. And so even just in terms of doing industry stuff and giving artists what you promised, we see how J. Cole didn't uphold the verbal agreement that he made to Cameron there, which again just does kind of show the same thing that is the problem with Cole, which is that he will smile in your face and say whatever you want to hear, but then when he's not with you and behind your back, he may not follow up with that, or he may do something that again is just not in your best interest whatsoever. And you know, from that to even if we want to just expand this and look at other people who have been integral in Cole's career, whether it's Jay-Z, and see how despite Jay bringing him into the rap game, and despite that almost being the next step in line, just in terms of really getting on the throne and having a mentor like a Kendrick has a Dr. Dre, or even a Drake had a Lil Wayne for a long time, to see J. Cole and Jay-Z just never really speak or talk, and we know that there is some sort of beef that we can't fully understand about him, you almost just do wonder when you see the common denominator between the reason why Cole really has lost so many people by his side, and well, why so much of his career is just an absolute mess. We gotta ask ourselves if this is the reason why Jay-Z distanced himself from J. Cole and why they really have little to no relationship today. And just to now look at the younger side of things, to look at somebody who really was supposed to be that next person that Cole would help get on the throne and really propel into superstardom and maybe even be the mentor to him that you could say Jay-Z wasn't, ultimately going forward and evolving in his career. Well, with none other than Jid. Listen, I don't care what Jid says and what he does to praise Cole, but when you just see the way that Cole has really done little to nothing to support Jid's career since the Forever Story, he has really not appeared on any album tracks with him, and they haven't done much work together that's been heard, or Cole hasn't done much to uplift Jid the same way that, let's just say, a Kendrick Lamar did to a Baby Keem. Once again there, it just seems like something is up with J. Cole, and again, while he is always seen as this great, nice, and amazing guy to the public, and that's the facade that he tries to put on, you just have to ask, why are there so many rappers that are against them, or just have these weird relationships, like even with Wale, to go back to that, where Cole just does one thing in his face and then does another when he's not there, and it's just awkward, and it's just weird, and with all of this, that's just the thing with it all. J. Cole is weird for moving like this. And you know, honestly, when I look at the two sides in hip-hop, because really that's where we are at, there are two major sides, which one is just filled with the purists and everything that the culture is rooted in, which is led by Kendrick, and the other is rooted in whatever clown show and garbage grifting game slop that you want to call whatever Drake has got going on. Listen, I honestly have to say, and this may shock you, but I almost do respect Drake more than J. Cole, just for simply standing on the fact that I am a loser, I am a villain, and I am trying to actively ruin every single thing that a Kendrick Lamar has, or a Pusha T has, or any of these other guys who love hip-hop, because at least for him, I could say that I understand what the basis of his motives are, and I know that Drake is not going to smile in Kendrick Lamar's face and then do something completely different. You just know where they stand, which to me, and in a genre like hip-hop, well, that is a very hip-hopian, if you will, principle of just standing on business and really standing for something, because in this genre, if you don't have your word, your stature, or just your respect, really, what do you have? And for J. Cole, as we are just finding all of this out, and his problems have extended beyond Kendrick Lamar and Drake, as with Wale, Cameron, and whoever knows is out there, well, we are just starting to see the problems really reach a new level entirely. Well, I guess it's time to see where all this ends up going. But I guess what I will say from here is that for J. Cole, when we look at all of this in its entirety, it's definitely not looking good. And so yeah, that's everything I got today. Let me know your thoughts on J. Cole being arguably the biggest snake in the music industry and being one of the worst friends you could have. And what do you think about all these situations and just the mess that J. Cole has created for himself in general? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out a ton. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And well, if you want to stick around with me for a little longer and see how right before this, Drake just did an interview, and I don't even know how to describe it, but this thing was all over the place and it was a mess. And he really did make an absolute embarrassment of himself. Well, you're not going to want to miss this, so check out the suggested video.